All right, have a good day. Hope you enjoy the fried chicken.
If fried chicken is your power, then what are you without it? Do you control the fried chicken? Or does the fried chicken control